All right, everyone, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Monday, April 10th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into it today. So a little bit of a gap down this morning. And you could kind of see in the morning the inflation trade was kind of back on. And what I mean by that is if you take a look at XLE, well, we had revised GDP data, first of all, and it came in hotter than expected. And XLE is actually pretty sharply off the highs. But this morning, XLE was getting a pretty good bid, right? So a big surge there in the morning. And, spiders were lower. And we had the long bond, ZB here, under pressure. That is now a little bit off the lows here, but that was under pressure. DXY, dollar was getting a bid, and it still is. As you can see, up 71 basis points here on the day. And we also had weakness in tech, right? So the Qs were much lower today relative to everything else. So it was definitely like an inflation type tape this morning. That said, it ended up being a dip for buying. And one of the things that really kind of gave that away to me was the Russell 2000. You see the IWM in the corner of your screen there. That had a gap down like everything else. But look at how minimal the gap down was compared to the spiders, right? It went green within the first, 15 minutes of the day. Additionally, if we take a look at KRE, that went green very quickly as well. So KRE and the IWM, as well as the Dow transports, going green within the first 15, 20 minutes of the session. Transports are up nicely, up 1.5%. It's going to be hard for the market to sell off with those things negative right now. It's just generally the way it works. You can also see by the first hour and a half or so of the day, the semiconductors went green. That's pretty much 3 for 3 right there. You get the semis, the Russell and the Dow all up. Generally, the market's going to want to hang in there, and that's what happened. So we rallied up, had a little bit of a, wouldn't really call it a V shape. It was kind of close to a V shape. Pretty good pullback there, bear trap, and then a nice surge. Look at that power candle there at 12:30. So a big move there, spiders, Qs. Now basically just off the highs, and spiders fractionally lower here. And the Q's down just 20 basis points right now. Apple really kind of bringing up the rear here, down almost 2% still. But again, you kind of held that 20 moving average there on the daily. Google a little bit on the weaker side. So more of a, not so much a big tech-led rally today as more of a kind of broadly led. I shouldn't say it's rallying. We're still negative, but the things that came off the lows weren't so much big tech, more of kind of a broad-based advance there for some of those names. But either way, markets behaving as we kind of expected. We've talked about this really over the last week or so as we sit right at the flat line here. Markets close in about 2 minutes, by the way. But as we sit right on the flat line, we've talked about this. Volume very light, right? So that is, that's supporting the market here. And we're not expecting tons of declines, at least for probably the next couple of weeks. That's kind of what I would look at here. We do have CPI Wednesday, so it might be a little bit on the quieter side tomorrow. Maybe a bit of a pause day here. I could definitely can't rule that out tomorrow. Maybe we're just going to flat day tomorrow. But we've had a lot of news lately. There's been tensions in Taiwan. There's, what I'm seeing right now is kind of what I would call like bear confusion, maybe bear frustration. And that's because there's a lot of puts being bought. And this is what we talked about really the last 2 weeks, is that you need people selling shares. Every time these guys come in and buy puts, they just get burned. And there's going to be incentive to burn those out the more people keep buying them. You need an event that causes an actual liquidation and not just short selling, an actual liquidation. I don't see that happening just yet. Again, we've talked about this. I think the market probably will hold up at least for the next few weeks. But it's on borrowed time, okay, right? We've talked about this. There is still red flags out there despite the Russell 2000 having a good day today. This has been an underperformer. The semiconductors, they had a good day today. That's still been an underperformer. The KRE had a good day today. That's been under, if the banking crisis was over with, then this should be V-shaping right now. If everything was fine, if this is a new bull market, this wouldn't be happening, right? You wouldn't have this type of move, right? So we're not expecting this to last too long. But for right now, flows should be supportive. And as long as they keep trying to buy puts, everybody, Taiwan's a thing. It's a real thing, but positioning matters, and that's really what it comes down to here. And until that positioning changes, I think flows will be supportive here. But spiders looking like they're trying to scratch out a gain here. We got 45 seconds left. Looking at a little bit of a pop there into the close. So markets are holding up, and they live to fight another day here. Tesla a little bit on the weaker side. Yeah, generally big tech today. Like I said, really bringing up the rear here. Meta's still red on the day. Amazon just went green. Seeing Microsoft down, Google's down pretty nicely. So definitely more of a broader based move. I know Micron's helping out the semis here. That had a big jump today. And then cloud software here, basically hovering just underneath the flat line. So generally big tech on the weaker side, but everything else okay. So anyways, let's get over here. We covered the spiders a little bit. Let's cover the Qs. So again, just a pullback candle, basically at the flat line. And I think we at least get up to fill this gap here. Nice consolidation pattern. Nothing terrible is happening. There's the closing bell. And you held 315.60 on a closing basis, right? So that's that inside bar. That is still valid. For the spiders here, we're still holding 404.55. That's it. That's a valid inside bar. So that's hanging in there. Okay, Russell 2000 reclaiming the 20 MA. So that's a bit of a positive here in the near term. I would say 178 is going to be resistance there on the daily. That's just a short-term level there, nothing crazy. And then Dow, the diamond here, still holding up the best, up 32 basis points. Nice inside bar pattern. I would say this probably wants to get up to 340. That's really the max move I have for it right now, but no problems at the moment when you see consolidation like that. All right, so we already mentioned the semis here, but, decent pop. Again, we talked about this rising wedge. We'll see if that stalls there tomorrow, because that was a good break. And then, it never really confirmed the break, but you didn't really get back above that red bar high. You never got back above that trend line. And look where we closed today, literally like basically right on that trend line there. And, you got a nice little stair step up pattern, nice inside bar there into the close. So that could be a good pop for tomorrow. Little bid candidate there. If it gets through that, there's a little gap there. I would say probably around 260 or so. You'll have a little bit of short-term resistance there. But semi's holding up okay, and we'll respect that. For now, IGV still having a good pattern here as well. We talked about this on Friday, or I should say Thursday. The inside pattern, we gapped below it, and then we closed back above that green bar low. So I like when you get those patterns, because it means a lot of the time you'll get shorts trapped down here. Then they rip it back up and close it above. So this is still safe for a move to 310. So IGV holding up okay. And again, we'll respect it here. Dow transports, this has been really volatile lately. The transports are not known for being this volatile, but take a look at here. We had that big breakdown a few weeks ago, little oversold condition there, and then it popped up, basically all these kind of gaps. And then we had that big outside move, which got faded. And now we're right back above that 14,139 level. So this is definitely a good point of control here for the transports, 14,140. We'll see the 100 moving average might have to stall out there. You've got a little red bar high at 14,333. So that's maybe where it stalls out there. But, nice move, and it's defending that 200 moving average and the 20 moving average. So it's holding up okay, but still lower highs here. And I never liked that breakdown on the weekly that we got a few weeks ago. So this is more so on borrowed time here to me as well, but it's holding up okay, so we'll leave it at that for now. 2-year here lower by 7 basis points. It's holding up okay. I don't really have anything bad to say about it now, but obviously that data came in a little bit hotter than expected, and we'll see how that jobs number comes in, because NFP Friday was hotter than expected, not by a ton, but it was. So we'll see what the CPI does to the 2-year here, but right now I just don't see, unless something really wild happens, I don't see the market selling off too much here. Well, but I could be wrong, but I think we have a little bit farther to go here on this rally. And then the 10-year here, again, holding trend, it's pulling back here. The 30-year as well, if I can type it in correctly. Again, also pulling back down 42 bips. No problems here. This can still get one more bid in it as well. Over to housing, XHB, that's hanging in there, had a nice day. You have these 3 tail candles, so it's defending 64, but I mean, lower high, lower high, lower high, equal lows here. You can make a case that's more of a descending triangle type look. Right, so there's your bottom. And then, you've got this higher high, but you've got a trend line right there. Right, so if you put in another lower high there, that 64 is not going to hold, and 200, the 200 moving average at 62 will be your next level, but I think it's going to probably get down to that 61 handle ultimately. But either way, XHP having a nice day. We'll leave it at that for now. ITB up 1% as well, and VNQ still holding a bullish inside bar there on the daily time frame. It's not the greatest pattern. You're below the 50, the 100, and the 200. You are above the 20. So, I mean, it's not the greatest. I would prefer it to be above the 50 doing that, but, it is for now. And if the market gets a bid, this will get a bid. XLF, reclaiming the 20 moving average on last Thursday. And we had a nice move today. Looks like we closed, let's see, the high was 32.05. Yeah, we closed 1 penny above Thursday's high. So a little bit of a sign of strength there for the XLF. XBD very weak here as well. You do have slight higher lows here, but this is a big bear wedge here on the weekly time frame. So again, just be careful with the XBD right now. Crude not doing a whole lot. Did back off of the highs a little bit. We'll see what it does here. If it consolidates, it can go up into this, this zone here. We'll call it from 82. We'll say 83 to 85 and change. That's really all I have it doing right now. I think that gap is just too fat. It needs to get filled. I don't know if it's going to do it right away. It might have to make a push up here and squeeze the shorts one more time before it does that. We'll see what it does. But crude hanging in there, and basically a nothing burger today. XLE up just under 1%, but it came way off the highs. That 100 moving average is still putting up a fight there. And then XOP, nice outside move up 2% and above Thursday's high. But again, this trend line here still remains good resistance. We also have the 50 and 200 above that, so that's going to be a resistance there as well. OIH also up 1.3, still just too sloppy for me to do anything with it, but it had a nice bounce today. Nat gas, nice outside move up 8%. It's moving up here a little bit in the after hours, and I keep talking about seasonality here, and I want to show you guys. I know I've talked about this a little bit before, but if you look at the seasonal, generally you put in a peak sometime in November, and then we kind of come down. We sell off into February. About third, right here is the second or so week. We made it to about the third, fourth week of February this year. And then you have this big rally, and then you come down into March and you have this kind of micro bear flag. Well, does that look a little familiar here? So peak in November, down, and then December all the way down into basically the end of February. So we're basically about a week and a half to 2 weeks just shifted, but price action wise, it's the same. And then we have a big rally, and then down into the end of March. And then you have a little bear flag that ends up failing. Could this be the start of that? It certainly looks like it. It's price action has followed that pretty closely. I know everybody's talking about inventories this, inventories that. If you wait for the inventories to change, you're going to miss the move. Smart money knows that. You're basically at very close to all-time lows here. This is where smart money is accumulating. The COT reports have changed a little bit here as well. 35,000 short contracts got covered by managed money. So I think the writing's on the wall here. But seasonally, we'll see if we can get going. Nice bid here. Almost an engulfing reversal from Friday's breakdown. Also, Credit Suisse with that downgrade on Friday. I mean, that's, a downgrading at a basically, multi-year low. That's just like the classic inverse signal there. But either way, nat gas, nice bid here, up 7 3/4. Basically, well, it did negate all of Friday's move and almost an engulfing reversal there. So we'll see if that can get going. Dollar index up 71 basis points. We already touched on that. Still below all 4 major moving averages. I still think this has to get down into that double bottom area. Gold, nice pullback there. Pretty good gap down. Never filled that gap. It is pulling back here. It's still above the moving averages. I don't see any problems other than it's still very overbought. So just be careful with gold if you're trading it right now. Silver hanging in there as well. That gap down also, but it did fill the gap, as you can see. And then it came back in off the highs. This is not, nothing wrong with it. It's very overbought, but if this consolidates, it can go higher. You're still just too extended from that 20 moving average. If this tries to break out now, I think it's going to fail and come back in. It's just too overbought and extended right now. But it's holding up well, and we have to respect it. Platinum here via PL. if platinum wants to come up. There we go. How you doing, platinum? Down 1.25 here. Still holding this green bar. No problems there. If this shapes up, it can still get to 1040. So no issues. Copper also on the weaker side. Again, I think I talked about this last week. If this starts to consolidate, it's going to be a bear flag after that failed inside bar there. So we're still looking for, you guessed it, 375 on spot copper. Bitcoin, another nothing burger here. Oh no, it's actually moving. It wasn't moving earlier, so now it's getting a bid here. Let's take a look on the intraday. Okay, yeah, just got a pop here in the last couple of hours. Let me move to a 5 minute and kind of, there we go. So yeah, nice pop there for Bitcoin. So maybe it's starting to make its move here, finally. We talked about that 30,000 handle. We'll be watching that. It's definitely done enough consolidation to at least get a run at that. You have the 20 moving average. You know, it's caught up to price now. 50 moving average is up sloping. You have a nice bullish inside bar there. So we'll see if it can get into that area. I don't see it getting much through that, you know, too much through that though. Just be careful. This is a ton. This is a wall. You know, everybody who bought up here and here, they're going to be sellers. So just be careful with it. But that pattern there on the weekly is good, and that should advance. And like I've been saying for a while, I think it needs to pierce 30,000 in order to really, you know, suck in that kind of late money. You know, everybody who's too scared to buy down here, everybody who's too scared to buy down here, they'll be buying when CNBC is flash 30,000, 30,000, 30,000. They'll be buying up there. And that's where the big sellers will come in. But anyways, let's get over to the European market too. Let's look at the Euro 50 first. That's holding up okay. And again, we have a inside bar here on the daily. I don't see any problems there. It's got a lot of resistance up in this zone. If it does make a push to 4,400, there's going to be a wall up there. German DAX at just under 15,600. That's got the same kind of pattern here. You had a nice pullback, high or low. If this consolidates, you know, you can, I'll say 15.9 to 16,000. That's going to be kind of your max move here in the near term. That's holding up all right. The UK 100, that had a pretty good dump. And remember I told you guys a few weeks ago, I said 72. I said if this gets through 74, it's going to go to 72. And basically you're just taking that fib there and right to that 382. So pretty much actually, I think I should actually call it a 618. Right, because it's going to there to there. So it's a 618. But that's where it went. I said 72 is where it's going to want to go. Went there right to the penny, up move, pull back, and now it's pushing higher. So UK holding up decently. There's a wall. I mean, it's kind of into one right now. You got above that 50. But right around here, 78, 50, 79, that's a major resistance level. I don't see it getting through that right now, but it's had a nice bounce off the lows. And if the spiders hold up, the rest of the indices will hold up here. But that's what I'm seeing there in the European markets. As for the SPY, we had a nice, we finished green here by 42 cents. NASDAQ QQQ down 18 cents. So it's holding up for now. Again, I think, like I've said, flows should hang in there for the next couple of weeks. After that, you got to be careful with this market. Anyways, guys, going to wrap it up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I'll talk to you all tomorrow.